Hey everyone, it's Sam, and welcome back to the 911 Nonsense podcast. To stay in the loop, learn about upcoming guests, and join in the conversations with the Noon community, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And hey, if you like what you hear in this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support means the world to us. Today we're joined by flight nurse and paramedic Michelle Klein. Michelle shares nearly 3 decades of experience in EMS. From breaking into a profession that wasn't always welcoming to women, to becoming a passionate advocate for first responder wellness through her Fit for Flight program. We talk about mental resilience, physical readiness, leadership, partner relationships, burnout, and why protecting the culture of EMS starts with each of us. Let's get started. All right, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us on the Noon podcast. How are you today?
I am wonderful.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a little bit of a work to get us both at the same time, but we have finally managed to make it happen. Can I go ahead and get an introduction?
Absolutely. My name is Michelle Klein. I am a flight nurse paramedic. I've been in EMS. I like to say I grew up in EMS because I started at a very, very young age of 24. I'm actually way older than that now. So I just spent my whole career, my whole life growing up, young adulthood has been evolved in EMS. So very passionate about it. It's been a great career. A lot of people knock it saying, don't persuade people to go in EMS. I'm the exact opposite. EMS has been kind of life changing for me. It's made me grow up in different ways. It's pulled out a lot of my weaknesses that are now, I hope, my strengths. So, I mean, it's a really great career. It's not for everybody, like we talked about earlier, but I'm never going to talk bad about it and tell somebody no. That's for sure.
And that's an awesome perspective to have. Is EMS, you said you got in at 24. Is that something you'd always been interested in?
Actually, yes. I had no idea what was going on in the back of the ambulance, but since I was a little girl, for some reason, I always got excited when I saw an ambulance. It was actually just the ambulance I was excited about. It must have been the lights or the sirens. I don't know what it was, but I was always, when one would come by, my ears always perked up, and it's always been that. I reckon when I was in high school, they're always asking you, what do you want to do? Which is the worst thing to ask because none of these kids in high school, especially me, know what we want to do. I mean, that's just crazy. But I was like, oh, I reckon I'll be a nurse. But I really had no desire to be a nurse. I just thought that was related to the ambulance. So it's kind of crazy the way it all turned out. But I wouldn't go back and change how my career started and where I am now because it's led to some really wonderful things.
And when you first got in at 24, was there something that drove you to get into the career, or was just the opportunity finally arise where you could get in?
A couple of things. One, I was actually an ER clerk at a little local hospital, and my soon-to-be husband was a paramedic that brought a patient in. So it's kind of love at first sight there. So obviously, having him, being in a relationship with him, and then marrying him, just really helped open the door for that career path. He was not only my husband, he was my mentor so much early in my career. I actually even got to work with him some, which was good and bad. So it was bad enough sometimes that I had to listen to him at home. And then when I went to work, he was actually, he would tell me real quick he was the paramedic and I was the basic. So
he had to make sure he set the line.
He did. We got in some arguments. I have to say, we did get in some arguments, but it all worked out, and I'm better for it. I actually learned a lot from my husband. So he's retired now, still with his back. It's not 100%, but he's still kicking. But he was a great paramedic. I always aspired to be as great as him because I did look up to him in that.
That's awesome. And you talk about like a lot of how the culture was in the beginning of your EMS career. How was that for you?
It was terrible. It was terrible. So I'm going to be 100% honest about the culture when I started. So it was really great when I got to work with my husband, right? Obviously, my husband's not going to let anything happen to me or anybody say anything to me or anything like that. But it was when I got out on my own, it was really difficult because back in the day, because this was like 26 years ago, back in the day when I was doing there wasn't a lot of females in it. I was very much a minority. I've always been a small woman. I'm only like 5'2". So whenever you take a woman 5'2" that looks like she is completely out of place, you're obviously not going to be welcome in the sense that you want to be welcomed, right? So it was really hard. I had not everybody was rough on me, but I did have some encounters that wasn't pleasant. There was a lot of toxicity, a lot of to perform like a man and be like a man, and you was
Mm-hmm.
reminded quite often that you wasn't a man. Is kind of hard. And then because we are different, I'm not going to sit here and play the sexes or anything. I am not a man. I don't think like a man. I am 100% a woman. And in that, there's nothing wrong with that. I can still function and do this job. But in the beginning, that was a little difficult. So I felt like, at the most part, because there wasn't a great culture there. It was just show up, do the work, get it done. If you need to cry, go home and cry, and all this other kind of stuff, which we did.
Sure.
Obviously, we're not going to show any weaknesses at work because you're already, regardless of what you do, you're already seen as the weaker vessel here.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to add to that at all. So I'd suck it up and go home and cry to my husband.
So how were you able to like overcome and adapt to that though?
Honestly, I have a very close relationship with Jesus Christ, and I would seriously just go to prayer and do that. I never held back any of my weaknesses or anything that I was feeling whenever I would go to pray about it and things like that. And I just honestly feel like this was my calling. This was what I was supposed to be doing, and I was going to be equipped with it. Not luckily, but my whole upbringing has, I believe, prepared me for where I am. But I am by nature a tomboy. I am by nature kind of rough around the edges. I'm not gentle by any means. And those kind of things, I think, that were part of my personality anyway, has helped me. Not to mention that I don't have scars and I don't have past hurts from all that. But it's kind of like, you fast forward to modern day, the terminology was never there back in the day, right? So now we got mental resilience. I was learning mental resilience before I even know what that term even meant, right? Because I knew I had to take what I was dealing with, what was coming at me, and I knew I had to figure out a way to deal with it in a healthy way. Because if I couldn't, I had to get out, right? And that was kind of it. It was I'm one of those people, when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to try a little bit harder to do it and do it well. Not out of just sheer rebellion, but for the fact that people don't have the right to tell you that you're not good enough and you can't do something. And when you feel you're passionate about it, you go and you study, you do the work, you put in the work, and you just keep focused on moving forward with what you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's true. And so you started out on an ambulance and now you are flying, correct?
Yes, never would have seen that day. That was never, like, when you asked me what I wanted to do, that was never, I didn't even know that was an option. So after spending 15, I was a paramedic for about 15 years when I decided I wanted to go back to nursing school. And it had nothing to do with being a nurse. It was just, back in the day, we still wasn't being paid well, and I wanted to make more money, right? So I decided to go to nursing school. I didn't know what that was going to look like. Went, got my registration, to be a registered nurse, all that kind of stuff. Graduated, still stayed on the truck for a while, and kind of moonlighted in the emergency room as a nurse. But my heart has always been in transport and EMS. So that didn't work out too well. I did it, didn't like it at all.
Was it a bit of a culture shock going from the bus into the ER?
Oh my gosh. Yes, it was. Well, I tell you the first things. And look, I believe in making fun of your failures, especially laugh at yourself, because if you can't laugh at yourself, you're truly going to be crushed when people start laughing at you. Because if we're all honest, we all do some stupid crap, right? I've done so many stupid things. I wish I would have had a book to go back and read and be like, oh, you were so stupid. Uh, but I remember early in the ER one night, I was just, trying to do my thing. And it was easy. I had a guy that broke his arm. It's super easy. And they were like, I can do this all day, right? And they were like, I need you to go bandage it up and put it in a sling. And I was like, all right. I went and put it in one of our sling and swabs. Whenever they have like really nice slings that are meant for the hospital that are really nice with the Velcro and things like that. So I went in there and did the whole bandana on it. And I was like super proud of myself. And they went in there and they're like, what is that? I was like, that's the only way I know to do a
You
sling.
asked me to do it and I did it. What do you see
Yeah.
issue?
And then they were like, I would go and pull a breathing treatment and start on the breathing treatment. And they're like, what are you doing? And I said, he said he needed a breathing treatment. And they's like, no, respiratory does that. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, just call them. And I think the biggest thing was in the beginning, which I get it now, and it's like, man, I was really dumb. I was really naive. I would feel really bad about sitting at the nurse's desk doing my chart when I thought I was supposed to be in the room just sitting with the patient. Because it's like we sit with our patients and we're like literally right there with my whole care in the ambulance is I'm just going to be right here beside you. And we're going to end together when I drop you off, and then I'm never going to see you again. But in the hospital, I just felt like I was detached almost, and definitely out of place. I felt like a big old thumb sticking out of a hand that didn't need an extra thumb.
I mean, it sounds like everything was done with good intention, right? So,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
that can be hard, especially when you're being told to do something right and you've never been shown any other way. Like, of course you're going to do it the way that you know how to do it. I don't see anything wrong with a triangle
No,
bandage. Like,
it worked. It worked. It just wasn't pretty.
yeah. That's so funny. I love that.
uh,
So then you transitioned. How did you get into a flight role? And when you're flying, are you flying in a nurse capacity, paramedic capacity, or both?
well, that's a great question because so I was working part time in the ER, not giving up my shifts on the ambulance. I was on a critical care truck where I was, and I really enjoyed that. Opportunity from a friend of mine who's no longer with us. He actually called me because he was working in another state and he was flying. He's like, I just thought of you and thought it might be something you like. I reached out, got the job. It was only part time. It was flying on a rotor. And even though I was a nurse, I didn't have enough nurse experience. So they actually hired me as a paramedic. So I flew in what we called the paramedic seat, which I do want to give a shout out to Ryan from Crew Table because he is trying his best to change the culture in that from nurse paramedic because you're literally doing the same job, right? And it shouldn't be like that. So he's doing great. I hope if you don't know him, I'm going to get you in contact with him because you should know him. He's a great guy. But I was actually at that time hired for the paramedic position, which full disclosure, paid less than what I was making on the truck. It was just and I even asked them, why are they pay so low for that? And they was like, because everybody wants this job and we can give it to anybody even cheaper. And it was like, wow. But that is what it is. But that's what started my career. And then when I started flying, I absolutely loved flying.
Yeah, the culture for pay surrounding flight is actually crazy, right? Because I mean, it's questionable on whether or not it's more dangerous than being on the truck, right? But that also
Hmm.
speaks to our ground EMTs should be being paid more. EMTs and paramedics should be being paid more because they are out in a truck in all types of weather. You can't not respond somewhere because you can't get there because the weather's so bad. Not like with flight where you can turn down a mission. Um, so it's crazy that you bring that up. And then it's good to also hear that there are more advocates out there pushing
Oh,
for
yes.
that flight. So are you now currently still working as a paramedic in flight or are you working as a nurse in flight?
No, that was many, many moons ago. And now I work for a different company altogether. And we only hire a lot of our crew is nurse paramedic. However, our system only recognizes the nurse part. So we fly double nurse. paramedic. But no, it's definitely a nursing position now. So you're either a nurse or nurse EMT. You're still got you've got both titles. So we function as both.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good system. So but I do agree, getting back to what you said about the truck, as far as EMT basics and paramedics, 100, which obviously I'm always like, I am even though I'm not on the truck no more, I don't know that anybody will ever have a better cheerleader and advocate for EMS than me, because I love them so much and I think they're doing a great job, but they absolutely need to be paid more. You have to show up in the rain. Whatever it is, you're showing up. Whatever it is, you're expected to go. You don't get to cherry pick your calls. You don't get to cherry pick your weather. You're going to get out there and you're going to get the stuff done. And they need to be recognized for it and they need to be paid for
I agree 100%. 100%. There's not enough, I think, that can be said for the people that are in the ambulances. And I know I talk about it a lot, but the sheer amount of communities that still have volunteer services to me is
it.
insane, especially
Yeah.
like whole cities that still only bank on volunteers is absolutely crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't know that there was a big area, a population that still operated like that. I live out in the country and we don't operate like that. I mean, we have volunteer firemen, things like that, but we have an EMS service.
You were down here not that long ago. There's a city to the east of us that like they have a hospital. It's not a big city. It's big enough to have a hospital. And they get a huge tourism in the summers and they are purely volunteer only.
Oh, wow, I did not know that. Dude, shout out to the volunteers. I mean, that's like crazy, right?
I know, it's crazy. Hopefully they get some benefits, but I don't know for sure if they do or not because I haven't talked with any of them in a long time, but it is insane. You made a comment earlier too about your husband being retired and still having his back, which is pretty impressive for somebody who was in the field for 40 years. What do you think saved that?
Oh, honestly, he always worked out. He was in the gym and things like that, and I know that that's what helped his core, because the more we research and get into fit for flight for things, a strong core is really what saves your back. So I'm certain that's what it was, because I love hearing his stories. I make fun of him all the time. We obviously have an age difference in our marriage, but I make fun of him all the time because when he first started, he actually started in a hearse, right? And they just threw the people in the back of the hearse, and one would turn around and say drive faster and the other one would drive, and then they finally move up to a stretcher, which I don't know if you go back and it looks like ancient dinosaurs, but you look at the stretchers they used to use back then and they were like totally collapsible on the ground, almost like basically a spine board, and they would have to
Yep.
deadlift every patient, every patient. So move forward to today where we have, legs are going up by themselves. It's going in the automatic loader. It's making things better. But I mean, honestly, truthfully, he does have back problems, but he's not handicapped from it. There's a lot of people that go out of duty in EMS due to their back and they never return to work. The last time I looked, and because I liked having the numbers on it, I'm really big into the numbers on the side of things. I think it was it's between 40 and 50% of first responders go out on a back injury, and a large amount of them suffer this chronically and they never return. We can say that's due to a lot of things. We all know that a lot of us are not very agile. We lose our mobility as we age, and we don't care to really fix it because there is like that little stigma of people getting older, and you just got to accept it and move on with it. People not working out, taking care of their core, and making it strong when everything that we do in EMS and first responders is that rotation around the core. And you can't expect to do this job long and have a weakness there and it not be exposed at some point in time, because we move a lot of weight throughout the day. That's what our job is. We're just moving people. I wish I would have added it up in one day on a 12-hour shift on the truck, how much weight I've moved all day. Because when you put that in perspective, you got to ask yourself, have I been training to move that kind of weight all day? And if you was being honest with yourself, most of us know we haven't been training our bodies and preparing them in order for what we're fixing to ask them to do. Therefore, we go out on injury.
I would be curious to hear. That would be a really good study for somebody to do, is to kind of just see what the general number is. Because even with the automated gurneys, that's fantastic. But they're still
Mhm.
like, if the battery goes out, you still have to manually lift it. And then you still have to lift it high enough to get the wheels off the ground, right? To get the wheels to come up and then push
Yep.
it into the into the ambulance. So
It's still manual. You can't, even with an automated stretcher, you're still moving. And let's remember that automated stretcher now, how much more
yeah.
does it weigh than our old stretchers? Our old stretchers were light because they were aluminum. They didn't do anything. So you could easily pick them up over the curb, do whatever you had to do. I remember when we got the first battery operated stretcher on our unit, and that thing was heavy because I had the patient on it, worked a sing call. I had a patient on it, and I went to just pick it up my end that I'm used to picking up and put over the curb, and it is substantially heavier. So, with all that, you got an increase in weight. Granted, once you get to the truck, it does make your life easy, but you still have to get to the truck.
You do still have to get to the truck, right? And the patients don't just pop up on the stretcher, right? You still have to move that
You
patient.
still have to move them. You still have to deadlift them off the ground. You usually are in a position where you shouldn't be deadlifting like that. Like, we don't, there's no way in EMS or HIMS for us to use proper body mechanics because we
No.
find ourselves in many situations where you don't have that luxury. I mean, how many calls have you worked where somebody coded or went out by the toilet?
Yep.
There is no room by the toilet.
No. And there's often not room for more than one person.
You're not going to do a proper body mechanic, straighten your back, adjust your hips, do all the things, and then move this patient in order to not hurt yourself. You're going to find yourself in an awkward position using muscles that you probably haven't engaged in a hot second. That's asking a lot for a human body.
It is.
And it's not like I can go to the gym and say, today I'm going to prepare and think about moving that patient from between the toilet and the bathtub. Obviously, we don't program that. But when you go in there and you work on your core and you work on rotational movements that get your core engaged and you're moving, and you're not just moving your limbs and your legs, building these muscles up for show. You're actually taking your core and making it stronger. So when it's time for your body to perform in those awkward situations, it's completely ready. It's going to protect your spine. It's going to protect everything in there. That way, whenever you're doing this awkward stuff, it's already prepared for it.
You talk a lot about this stuff like you're very passionate about it.
Yes. Probably. I like to, me and my daughter, I have four daughters. I like to say one of my youngest daughters, she's like my mini me, but we don't like, we obsess. So whenever we find something we're passionate about, we're like all in. Like, we're all in. I'm all in. Like the whole Fit for Flight that come about in 2021. I think that was the year I started it. I seen the need for, your mental health. Your mental health is the foundation for everything. If this isn't solid, just nothing else is gonna work, right? It's all gonna fall and crumble. So mental health, then I build on it with nutrition. And then on top of that, I build on it with physical ability because I feel like those are the three things that our environment needs to be preached and needs to be taken seriously, because these three things is the longevity of your career. And their mental health is huge. Like, you had Boomer on your show not too long ago. I love Boomer. He's so good. We need more Boomers. He's awesome.
I agree.
Mental health is everything. And there's so many avenues that you can go down with mental health. I mean, we could talk about mental health all day, mental resilience, peer support. There's so many things that come out of mental health that are wonderful. Taking care of their responder. Like you said earlier in our conversations, we do see a lot of stuff. Early in my career, it was never taught how to deal with the stuff that you see and how to go home with it. It was suck it up. It's part of the job. Get used to it or get out. And that was the mentality. Um, I understand that to a point, and to a point, there is a fine line there. If everything that you're seeing is bothering you and upsetting you and you're not sleeping, this might not be the job for you. And I get that. You do have to be able to have that mental resilience and some grit in that area. However, that fine line that I'm talking about is, I want to be human. I want to have empathy. I want to have compassion. I don't want this any of the things that I see make me hard and be like, that's just what it is. It's just another body I'm moving. That's not what I want. I want to be able to still feel, to still be hurt by the things I see, but able to deal with it and move forward with it in a healthy way so I can help the next person. um there's a fine line there, and that's an avenue that can probably be explored more. But I'm into that. I'm into, hey, just because this didn't bother me don't mean you're wrong for it bothering you. I tell people that all the time. One of the biggest things we can do at the end of every call is debrief, whether you're on the ambulance or whatever. People in hymns are used to debriefing because that's just what we do. It's mandatory. That concept was foreign to me on the truck. And had it been when I was in EMS, it would have honestly helped me out. I would have learned a lot more, a lot faster, and I would have been able to not sit in those pits that I found myself in and sit in them so long. Because at the end of every call, you should ask your partner if they're okay. Is there anything you want to talk about with that? Do we need to address it further? Shame on us for letting our partner drive home with such sadness and such heaviness on their heart when we didn't just extend a conversation to them. um those are the things. When I think about the mental aspect of fit for flight, is peer-to-peer support. Doesn't have to be corporate. It doesn't have to be these things. It can be you taking care of your partner, you taking care of the people that you work with. Because it's common knowledge now to say it's okay to not be okay. It is okay not to be okay. But it's also okay to be okay with the things you see because you've learned how to process these things in a healthy way. It doesn't mean that my heart is hardened. It just means I have developed inside of me a way to cope with the things that I see.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. I do want to say that, like, I think part of longevity in EMS and healthcare in all of these roles is also taking accountability for your own feelings, right? So, like,
Right.
we harp so much on mental health and making sure that you're getting seen. And you mentioned, also checking on your partners, right? But I want to reiterate, like, it is very important that if you are having this heaviness, if you are having this sadness, that you need to recognize, right? You need to
Hmm.
process, and then you need to cope, because these are all tools that we have access to now, that we have all the resources to now, that we can get all of these things or get help with achieving these things within ourselves, right? And that's not always easy, but you need to be able to recognize that.
Right. And I think the biggest improvement and thing that we have today versus back in the day is the fact that that is accepted to say, hey, I'm not okay with this. I'm going to need a minute or I need some help. It's not frowned upon. Back in the day, if you said that, you might as well just clock out and go home because, it's not going to work out well for you. So I am very glad that that culture aspect has changed. It might have been six. I don't know the time frame. I'm not good with time. Everything seems like a long time to me, but it wasn't that long ago. I had like the career call that you don't want, but you always hear about. And because of the mental resilience, and like I said, my relationship with Jesus and how I just bring everything there and ask, I just pour out my heart to Him. This particular call got me the absolute worst. And I found myself with all those emotions that we talked about, that are okay to have, the empathy, the sadness, and all these things. But for this one, it actually lasted longer for me than what it did. And that was probably the first time in many years in my career that I had to walk through this call. And it was difficult.
Do you mind sharing that call?
Uh, I wouldn't want to share too much of it, but it was a teenager traumatic arrest involving a surgical crike and everything bad that you can think that goes along with it. Everything that we've ever trained for, it was on that call, and it was all in the moment, and it was all fast. And it did not end well. And I think that's the thing. We train, you do this, you do that, and somewhere along the way, your brain thinks if I do all these things, everybody's going to be okay. And that's just not the case. Because we did do everything right and we didn't have the result. I think that's the thing that hurts the most. Doing everything that you've been trained for. You didn't shy. You didn't hesitate on pulling any triggers. You was aggressive. You did everything you were supposed to do, and you did not get the result you wanted. Nobody tells you how to deal with that, right? Because
No.
that's heartbreaking. And I found myself being heartbroken over that. And I would find myself going for walks just to, deal with it. And I am not a therapist like Boomer, but I can tell you what I do to keep my mental sanity and to keep me on this path of compassion and all the things. I recognized that this was a traumatic event in my heart and in my mind, and I needed to do something different with it because it wasn't like all the other ones. So, this is what I do: I stay away from anything negative for about 48 hours, and that includes what you watch on TV. All right. Don't watch anything bad. If you're going to watch anything, listen to anything, make sure it's something uplifting. Make it something it's positive, because people go down those rabbit holes and that just brings in this darkness that we was never meant to have. Another thing that I did was I journaled, and I'm not a journal. I don't like doing that. I don't like writing and I don't like reading. I know that's probably bad to say, but I don't like either one of those things. So, but I did find myself journaling and asking why this, why that, and reflecting on things. So, journaling is a great way to get your thoughts and your emotions out. At the end of the day, and I know this may sound weird, I was thankful that it broke my heart, right? Um, because that means I'm still human and I still feel after almost 30 years. And that's not something that like I'm proud of or anything, but it was like, thank you that I did not take this as just another call and another, oh, well, that's how life happens. Cause I would never want to get to be that person in my career. It's just like people die.
Yeah.
People die, people get sick, it is what it is. I don't want it to be it is what it is because that's somebody's loved one. That's someone's child. And I hope that anything ever happens to me or anybody in my family, especially my grandkids, I hope that that person that's showing up has that same compassion mindset and not they don't care about anything anymore. Because when we get to where we don't care, we need to go check ourselves in somewhere and, start dealing with some trauma that we've been shoving down and hiding.
Right. It needs to be a consideration, right? Like we potentially need to either get out or just take that time off for ourselves. And hopefully before that time, we've recognized that we need to step away. And I think it's so hard, right? Because and I don't know how you feel about this, but like the golden handcuffs, right? We're stuck somewhere because we get paid to be there. And the more I work, the more I get paid. So I'm not going to take vacation this year. I'm going to skip it because I have something else I have to pay for. The AC broke. My car broke. Whatever. I need new tires. Whatever you need to pay for, you get stuck in this loop, and then you're not able to take the time off for yourself that you need, even though you have a buildup of PTO. Like, that makes it difficult.
It does make it difficult because everything's expensive. Life isn't what it used to be. It's not as easy. It's not as laid back. I feel sorry for my kids and my grandkids that have to go through that, but it is expensive and you have to work. And it is tempting, like you said, to make that extra money, the overtime. My daughter's a new nurse and she's excited. She's great. But in the very beginning, she started taking those extra shifts for money. And that's
Mm-hmm.
obviously more money than she's ever made in her life, right? So it's appeasing. But 6 months later, she's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And you're too young to be burnt out. You know, you're too young to work that hard. This isn't in healthcare. We can talk about EMS, HIMS. Healthcare in general is not something that you need to go and work as many hours as you can in because it will truly destroy you.
Yep. It will. And it will do it very quickly.
It will do
Very,
it
very quickly.
so quickly, and you won't even know what happened. It'll slap you right in the face, and you won't even know. It'll be like that Jackie Chan movie where he's like, "Hold on, who kicked me?" That's what it's going to do. It's going to kick you right in the face. And so you need to take that PTO. You need to take time for you. The money is great, but decrease your lifestyle a little bit because your mental health is not worth it at the end of the day. I can tell you that I have sacrificed some things to go and make that extra money, and if I could have it to do all over again, I would not do it.
No, and I think most of us who are or who have been in this career this long, like I wouldn't have worked as hard as I did in my 20s. I can't remember most
Mm-mm.
of my 20s because I worked so hard,
Yes.
I think that's why they say the 30s are the new 20s, right?
And they very well might be. I'm hoping the 50s are a good age because I'm starting to like I'm not my daughter got that honestly. We honestly are hard workers in this family. We don't back down from a challenge. I mean,
Hmm.
we're full send in whatever we do. Just like you said, I sing passionate. That's in everything we do, but that's also exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It is exhausting, and I'm just it's taken me a long time, and I'm sure it'll take her a long time to slow down, because if you don't, you've missed out on everything, you know, and it just goes by too fast.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about like one of your worst experiences. What's probably one of your favorite experiences in EMS and healthcare?
Any all of them are the same. Anytime some a patient or family member has truly, you can tell it's heartfelt, eyes engaged, that thank you so much for being here, or just thank you for how you treated them. To know that I made a difference in somebody's life in a positive way is absolutely everything, and it's worth it. None of that other stuff matters. But when that family member, you can see the tears in their eyes and they're just coming to you and they want to hug you and tell you that they appreciate you so much, you know that you're on the right track then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The daughter that you were talking about that's a nurse, is that
Uh-huh.
the same daughter that flew with you?
Yes, that's my little yeah, she is definitely mine. So if y'all ever see her anywhere about, she acts like her dad, but she looks like me. That's that's a no, I tell her all the time. I was like, you get 100% of your dad, but 100% of me. It must be pure hell sometimes to be you. She's very ambitious. She's very sweet. She has so much empathy, so much compassion. I'm so proud of her right now because she truly, like, she is probably more of a patient advocate than I am. I mean, if you ever want somebody to be on your side, she's 100% your person. And I love to see that in her. I love to see that fight in her for her patient. She gets that on her own. I don't know where she got that. You can't train that. And we
You
need to,
cannot.
though. We need to bottle it up. And we need to put it in every orientation. So, how much life changing and culture changing would that be?
Yeah, no kidding. Do you mind if I ask how old she was when she jumped on the flight with you?
Oh, and she just flew as a ride along. She doesn't fly. That is her ambition, though, is to fly one
Mm-hmm.
day. She come and rode with me. She was 29, 28, 29.
Were you worried at all for her being on the flight with you?
Safety wise,
Safety and mental health wise, right? Because you and I know that there is a very big difference when you come onto a scene, right? A very bad scene, versus having that patient be packaged, whether it's nicely or not, still packaged coming in through the front door, like in the ER, right? So like you can't take back what you see.
you can't. Dear Lord, are you? That is the great statement. You'll never unsee things, right? You'll never unsee it. And that is something, oof, that's a big mental health dive right there. But that's a great question. Honestly, no, I wasn't worried about her. Like I said, I have four daughters. This one, I wouldn't be worried about seeing that at all. I do have daughters that I would have never even invited in that atmosphere because of that, because we're all built different.
Yes,
This
we are.
particular one, no, I wasn't worried about her mental health at all. In fact, I had to calm her down a little bit. I was like, "Oh, slow your roll, calm down." That particular day, we got awesome trauma call. I'm not going to go in details with it, and it just kind of blew her mind, and it really sent everything into perspective for her. And honestly, I think being with me that day is what kind of ignited her desire to do it, because it was an exciting day that day. Safety wise, I can say as her mom, I was a little worried. I'm always worried about safety on the aircraft because, as you know, that's a different beast by itself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's one of those things mentally, like we appreciate and we respect the safety, and it's always at the forefront of our mind. But I'm not going to put it in the fear category of my mind. I'm going to take it for what it is, and I'm going to be cognizant of everything that's going on. But as her mom, I was a little bit worried because of the dynamics of flight, and I know everything that could possibly go wrong. So I was a little bit more apprehensive that day that she was with me, but not into the fact that I would have discouraged her from coming.
Was she already in healthcare or considering healthcare at that time?
Yeah. So I don't think she was a nurse yet. I think she was in nursing school. But before nursing school, my daughter went to school for physical therapy. So she's physical therapy assistant. And she had done that for ever since high school. So she had probably done that for 8 years. So she had been in the hospital setting around patients and things like that. So she had a good taste of just patient encounters and things like that. But she never had
Yeah.
this side of trauma. So
And then it just lit that fire, huh?
it's like a little monster being built.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, what are your goals and what are your plans for Fit for Flight?
So, Fit for Flight is like a program, like I said, that I started way back in the day. My bosses were very gracious. I went and I had this idea, hey, I think these three things are important. I'd like to do something with it. They supported me, and we started our first program at our base. Like I said, it focuses on those three. And with each of those things, we get to choose what we're going to search after and dig into. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a physical trainer or anything like that. I am just passionate about what I do. With that, it's kind of spread where I go to conferences and I lecture on the mental health of first responders and how having, trying to practice and put these three pillars into your work module, how they're going to help you as an individual. So it's turned into lectures, it's turned into things across the system like that. What I would like to see, I don't ask for any money or donations or anything for what I do. It is all, everything that I've created and what I've done. But what I want to do is see it spread into other places of business. Um, I want people to come in and collaborate with me and have the fit for flight mindset, because that's what it is. It's a mental mindset of how you think you should do your job. Because I believe in extreme ownership. I believe at every level, EMS, HIMS, you are a leader. People are watching you. How you carry yourself and how you treat others is everything. And we need to steward that in the right way, I believe, because that is part of our calling of why we're there. If I show up on scene and climb in the back of the truck, get ready to get somebody, and I'm a total jerk to the paramedic, no matter what is happening, that should never happen. That happens. I get calls about that. I get calls about how the flight crew rude, this and that. That should never happen because we should all be leaders. So it's just a readiness mindset, and that's kind of what I'm hoping will catch on. And I hope people take the fit for flight. I can send them everything that I've collected from here. I do a quarterly newsletter. I'm constantly putting up free workouts on Instagram. I do have some nutrition packets of how they can do that, but mainly just helping them start something like that at their own pace. Getting the word out of how important it is that we take care of one another and we change the culture with that.
That's awesome. You talked a little bit about Instagram. Like you said one word. You basically said Instagram, so I'm going to bring it up. You you posted a video. I believe it was yesterday, but who knows? My algorithm's funky. But you posted a video, and then you tell me that you're 5'2", right? You posted a video of you doing these box jumps with your kettlebell. How tall is that box?
I think it was 20 inches.
That's crazy.
That honestly, like I said, everything's a rabbit hole. I could talk to you all day. So I am aging. So I am looking for ways to age gracefully, right? Because one, I don't have money to go and have all this stuff done, but two, I wouldn't anyway, right? But what I learned is when you get to 30, and I'm talking about females, I'm sure it's males and females, just females right now. When you get to 30, you start losing your bone mass and your muscle mass, right? The only way to combat that is with strength training. Then I got into this rabbit hole on jumping, just the impact of jumping. and how that actually goes to help your bone growth. People that do that and can incorporate that 2 to 3 times a week with the really hard jumping, like jumping up on the box, jump roping, things like that, frog jumps. um they have greater bone mass, and which is going to help. Everything that I do is going to help me, hopefully, hope to God, when I get 70, 80 years old, I'm still going to be taking care of myself. I'm not going to need help off the toilet. I'm not going to need help off the bed. And if I fall, I hope my bones are great enough to sustain what just happened. And that's truly the purpose behind it. Is you're always preparing yourself for that call, and you're also preparing yourself for that fall whenever you get older. So it's like box jumps, all of it, it's all for a purpose. It's not for show. It's for functional movement, and it's also for my bones and my muscles to get harder as I get older and not weaker.
Well, that was a very
Thank you.
impressive box jump
Uh,
workout you were doing. I was like, oh my God.
I'm also still under that terrible mindset. If I see something cool that somebody's
Oh
doing,
no.
I still want to try it. But I also have, now that I'm older, I have that little bit of fear. Should you be doing that? And so it's kind of hard.
Yeah. And a 20-inch box jump for somebody that's 5'2", that's like a third of your height. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's fine. Have you ever, though, like, it's funny because I don't do CrossFit anymore, but I was big into CrossFit. I was a level one trainer in that. And I remember the first time they told me to jump on the box. I think I was in my 30s, and it was terrifying because, do you know, when we're kids, we jump everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You'll jump off whatever, have your parents freaking out. You just jump and you don't care.
Yeah.
Jump off side of a house, jump off barn. Well, when we get older, we don't do that stuff. We don't get out on the monkey bars. We're not pulling ourselves up. We're not jump roping anymore like we did when we was kids, and we just picked that up. We didn't skip, and we certainly aren't jumping anymore. So when they told me to jump on the box, which was only at that time like this tall, it wasn't tall at all. It was a whole fear module in my hand that I couldn't jump and land on it. Um, but that just goes to show, if you don't use it, you lose it, is where I was going with that. And it's not that we get older and we can't, it's that we get older and we don't.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my mindset when I'm programming these workouts and stuff, is I don't want to lose my ability to jump. What when I might need to jump at work, I don't know.
Who
But if
knows?
the but if the prime opportunity comes and Michelle needs to jump, she needs to jump. I don't want to not jump. Same thing with jump rope. When I started CrossFit and I started jump roping, I could not jump rope whatsoever. It's like, how did I lose this skill? It was just such a stupid thing to do in school, that they hand you a rope as a kid and you just start jump roping, right? I mean, no
Yeah.
brainer. And then I found myself starting at the front of the gym, and I would jump rope and I would move all the way to the back because I was doing such a terrible job of it. Hence, now I can actually jump rope in one spot without moving. But now we have bladder issues, so that's another thing we're working on. But it's all good. You got to
It's
train that
true.
too, right?
Yep.
My whole point, and anybody listening to this, you're not too old. You didn't stop doing stuff because you got old. You stopped doing stuff because you stopped. Get
Yeah.
back to doing it. Little jumps will get you to that big 20-inch box again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you don't ever have to jump at work.
I hope I don't either.
But if it ever comes to it, I have faith that you will be able to jump.
Yeah. Yeah. Watch this. Next scene call, I'm going to be jumping over something. I'm
No,
going to
don't.
message you and say, hey,
Yeah.
I jumped.
Yeah, text me, be like, this is what I had to jump over today. All right, Michelle, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about anything that we didn't talk about, or anything that you would like to talk more about. This is your 15 minutes to pick.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, obviously, I want to promote Fit for Flight. Your mental health, your whole career depend on you being fit for flight. And fit for flight is just like fit for duty. It only sounds cooler. You can do it. Even every day is a new chance, a new opportunity to have a new you. People are like, well, I just don't do this. I just let today be different. wake up and say, I am not the same person. I am going to put a set of goals in front of me and I am going to crush them. It doesn't matter where you start. The only thing that matters is that you do start. We are not getting any younger. I am not getting any younger. Therefore, I am going to push even harder. I'm going to set these goals, and with the best of my ability, I'm going to crush them. Be a man or woman of your word. Be somebody that others can trust. Have everybody six. It doesn't matter if you like them or not. Do what's right all times, and you will be doing a good job. Protect the culture. Don't be, I almost said, don't be a DB. Let's do that because DB can mean dirtbag. Don't
There
be
you go.
a DB, okay? This job is hard enough without people being mean to people. We should be encouraging. When somebody doesn't know something, help them. I wish people would have helped me besides making fun of me and talking about me. My career would have went a lot more up and a lot more stagnant had I had somebody actually reaching out to help me understand the why behind what we're doing. That's it. Be fit for flight. Take care of one another. It's a wild, wild ride. And EMS, first responders, it's the greatest adventure I've ever been on in my life.
That's awesome. And it has been insanely crazy. This career is like, you think about it and you're like, I should, every once in a while you get pissed, right? You're like, this freaking job, man, right? So then you're like, I'm going to go do something else. And you're like, I can't do an 8 to 5. What is this?
Yep. Yeah, and you can't do it. And I know we didn't have time, but another thing that we should have talked about, maybe one day you and I can talk, is we do see a lot of things. We do a lot of hard things. We're also conditioned and with the right training, trained to handle these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing area that I've noticed that has been the hardest for me in my career is the people. So, what's the best part of my job? The people. What's the worst part of my job? The people. Because nobody teaches you how to have these professional relationships. Nobody teaches you how to 24 hours deal with a totally, completely different personality than your own, right? And how to navigate those. Because what I found is the people that hurt you most are the people that you care about the most,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day you hurt them the most as well. So it's a whole dynamic of partnership and relationships that I think needs to be studied. It needs to be helped. Those hard conversations, the debrief and all of it goes a long way to help it, but at the end of the day still navigating those relationships are the hardest.
I agree. And I really wish that there was more talk about the dynamics in relationships that you're talking about. Like when you have a partner, at least when, like, in flight, it's a little different. And it's not like this everywhere, but you have a base and you hopefully have 2 separate bedrooms, or you have 2 separate spaces where you can go hang out, and 24 hours isn't as bad. But when you are on a truck and you don't have a base, you are stuck.
You're stuck like Chuck in the front of a cab with somebody that you may not be feng shuiing with very well.
Yes.
So, and it's really difficult because what are you going to do? Are you going to be a jerk? I
Right.
mean, there's not a lot of options here. I don't want to be a jerk. I want to, EMS can be a lot of fun if you allow it to be.
Yes.
But if you're stuck like you're saying, it's not at all. And I have been stuck. And I hope I've never been the one that somebody's been stuck with. But we all have our days and we all have our moments. We all have a life outside of this. And sometimes when we show up, they're not getting our best, right? And
Yes.
it's just it's a very weird, unusual dynamic that we find ourselves in. And for the most part, most people in EMS and HIMS are very aggressive people. We're a little bit laid back, but at the same time, we're extremely aggressive. Um, and that all that plays in together. And it's been one of the hardest things in my career to navigate is the work relationships, not the patients, because like I train for that daily. How do I train for the relationships daily? That's the
Yeah.
hard part.
Yep. No, that is hard. And I always tell people too, like, if you feel that you have truly tried to mend this relationship, right? If you have tried to do everything that you can and it's still not working, that's okay, because not everybody is going to get along. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
We are people. So if that is an issue, and there's other opportunities or space, definitely talk with your supervisor, your manager, your leader, whoever, and let them know, like, hey, I've tried this, it's not working. I mean, hopefully by now they already know that this is going on, but if they don't, and then try and get yourself set up for success in a different situation, right? So try and get a different partner if you can.
True, because at the end of the day, we're required to be professional. And with professionalism is humility. It's you curbing your speech. People think, well, I can say whatever I want. No, you can't. You shouldn't be able to. I mean, it's like you don't have the right to say whatever you want to say. Granted, we have the First Amendment and all that, but when you're at work, you're there and you're supposed to be professional. There's been a standard set on how we should act. And that's another thing I do with Fit for Flight. I preach on setting the standard, because if you don't set the standard, a good standard, somebody's going to set it for you and you're going to be forced to follow it, and it's not going to be what you like. So if we're showing up with that focused mindset on being fit for flight and setting that standard, that's going to be the standard of the day. If our standard, when I show up and if I have a standard of helping people, being outgoing to people, having people know that they can come to me all the time, that's the standard of the shift. That's how we operate. That's everybody. It's not just me. It's setting the standard and moving forward with it. I've seen shifts where the standard is complaining and grumbling about everything. And you want to talk about drying up the bones, that's absolutely terrible. But that's been a standard set on shifts before, that we're going to do the bare minimum. We're going to complain about everything we do, and everybody on shift follows that. That doesn't have to be like that. One person can show up on that shift and set a different standard. I just believe in that. That's a different soapbox. I got so many.
No, it's true. And I think it's important to say these things. You know, I do think that partnership dynamic is a huge part of our everyday work life. And I'm glad that you brought that up. And Michelle, if you don't have anything else, I just wanted to say I appreciate you coming on today. It has been absolutely phenomenal. And what an amazing discussion. We've talked about a lot of things today, and I really appreciate that you brought those to the table.
Well, thank you for having me. I've had so much fun talking with you. It's just so much fun to talk about all these things and be around like-minded people, discussing something that we love. That's the whole point.
It is the entire point, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, Michelle.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show and want to show your support, be sure to check out the Noon merch store on Bonfire. Find the link in the description below. Also, if you have any guest suggestions, or if you're interested in being a guest on Noon yourself, visit the website at www.samspursuit.com to get in touch.